This is the audio-described version of From Major to Minor. It is produced entirely by young people, inspired by the heritage and natural landscapes of Sherwood Forest. The film lasts about 14 minutes and contains cinematic explorations of the forest itself, as well as audio interviews with miners, shown with archive footage. The film contains text on screen throughout, which will be read by a second voice. The screen turns grey and brightens in intensity. It dims, and a black and white outline slowly spreads across the screen. Faded at first, but growing sharper over time, becoming a tangled web of thick and thin tree branches. Individual sections of the image group together and begin to sway, revealing themselves to be a canopy of trees, seen from overhead, jostling each other and dancing in the wind. The image blooms into vibrant colour, and each tree's leaves have turned a different autumnal shade: vivid green, faded yellow, burnt red. Some trees are bare-branched. The bird's eye view glides over a selection of frosted green pines, their branches splayed like snowflakes, and travels through the tips of an orange canopy. A subtitle reads,
Sherwood Forest is over 11,000 years old. It dates from the end of the last ice age. In 1086, the forest, both woodland and heaths, covered 19,000 acres, a quarter of the country. Today, around 5% of that area survives. The name is from Shirewood, the royal hunting forest of Nottinghamshire. The heart of the forest is now a national nature reserve.
The image dives through the treetops, settling on the ground and its blanket of fallen leaves. Yellowing leaves flutter to the ground in slow motion, like rainfall. Behind them, the trunks of tall, thin silver birches twist and bend. The image focuses on an untrodden path of leaves, dotted with tranquil trees.
Viewed from above ground, trees may seem independent of each other. But they are connected by an underground network.
An animation of soil beneath the path shows the dense roots of the trees overlapping.
The mycelium.
The tree's roots secure themselves deep in the earth, and a second network of fibrous white thread spreads rapidly between the trees, creating a single web.
The mycelium connects the root systems of all the trees. A wood-wide web.
A pulse of green spreads through the network of fibers.
The network distributes nutrients between trees. and also information.
A yellow signal spreads.
Trees may supply or withhold food from their offspring to encourage independence. If a tree is under attack, it can transmit a warning.
A short, sharp shock of red spreads through the network and fades away.
And the mycelium bears fruit.
Mushrooms grow, delicate orange cups poking up through pine needles on the forest floor, polka dot toadstools, and small discs clinging to tree trunks.
There are roughly 15,000 species of fungi in the UK. Somewhere over 10,000 species are present in Sherwood.
A lone parasol-shaped mushroom sits in grass.
There are other underground networks.
The headstock of a coal mining pit superimposes itself over and replaces the mushroom. A large wheel sitting atop a tower, connected to a metal shaft driving into the ground at a 30-degree angle.
Deep under the forest lie the coal seams.
You know, you could basically draw a line from Sherwood Forest to wherever, down to Cockgraves, south of Nottingham, where coal stopped.
Some of the deepest mine shafts in the UK were sunk to reach the seams.
A map of the area shows a cluster of 9 mines around Sherwood and Mansfield.
Those seams weren't individual to your colliery because some of those seams run for hundreds of miles.
Simple charcoal drawings of miners at work.
There was a seam at Benting called Waterloo, which I started in. Then we moved from Waterloo to Black Shale. And I worked in Black Shale at Annesley. Oh, and then I worked in Tupton. Then I was in Deep Soft.
I did my face training at Mansfield Colliery, Crown Farm Pit, and they mined Deep Soft as well, and we mined Deep Soft at Bilsthorpe.
A network of tunnels connects on the map.
The miners hewed an underground network of roads. Via these roads, mines connected underground.
One of the collieries that I worked at, Bilsthorpe, I remember there was an old man-riding engine house close to the pit bottom, and at the back of the engine house was a tunnel. We were always told that that tunnel led through to Rufford Colliery.
By the time you'd done, you could have walked from Newstead Pit to Langton near Pinxton, and they tell me that Langton would join to Brookhill, the one further on. So you could walk from Pinxton to Newstead underground, basically.
At Bilsthorpe, we were close to Rufford Park, and there's a lake at Rufford Park, and we mined under that, and for many years, I think 3 or 4 years possibly, that lake was empty because we'd mined under it and it had caused subsidence, and the water had run out of the Rufford Lake, and the ground had to be repaired so that the lake would fill up with water again.
I should imagine all these workings now would be flooded. They'd be full of water now, yeah.
A close-up of rain hitting a thriving, once barren lake. 2 tall rusted headstocks face each other in a hilly clearing, fringed by trees.
The headstocks at Clipstone are the tallest in Europe.
Black and white footage shows the daily numbers on Blidworth Colliery's target board. Smoke rises from the pit as a tree thrashes in the wind. And a man in a flat cap trudges away from the mine. A photo shows the raised and squared-off buildings of Rufford Colliery. Back in colour, A bird's eye view shows a bare concrete clearing in the forest, the last remnants of Rufford No. 3 site today. Far off in the distance, tall white wind turbines spin. A faded picture of a headstock dwarfing a collection of buildings around it. And in a roughly realised charcoal sketch, a young miner guides a horse and cart. A cyclist in red pedals down a narrow tree-lined path.
People have always made tracks to the forest.
The grooves of car tyres are imprinted into the edges of a muddy dirt track. The image sails through the forest, taking in the floor of dried leaves and yellow foliage. A man and woman hike with their border collie, and a horse's feet pick their way across the uneven ground.
Many of today's tracks follow ancient ones.
An intricate web of crisscrossing trunks and branches almost block out the sun. Tiny fresh leaves appear on the bark of a branch, and the leaves of silver birches sprout magnificent green. Yellow and orange leaves hang off a wispy branch, and a collection of thin trunks obscure the world outside.
Film produced by Old Library Film Group. Soundtrack by IYA Soundtrack Ensemble. With thanks to Sam Chapman, Gordon Charlesworth, Lawrence Charlesworth, Pauline Marples.
A close-up on the peeling, chalky bark of a silver birch trunk. Gnarled and tangled trunks and branches create imposing figures in the forest. A felled log runs parallel to the horizontal branches of a tree in the depths of the forest, and the picture fades to black. White, fibrous mycelium threads appear in the center of the screen and weave their way to the edges of the image. The threads intersect, connecting with each other and fading away. The black and white silhouette of Sherwood Forest's famous major oak takes their place. The leaves of the oak grow sharper and turn green. The colour spreads down the branches of the tree as the image pans down to the thick base of the major oak.
This film and its accompanying soundtrack was scripted, filmed, composed and played by young people inspired by the heritage and natural landscapes of Sherwood Forest. Produced by Minor to Major and made possible by the Heritage Fund and Inspire. Audio description was written and recorded by Michael Skellen with additional recording from S. Grange for Vocalise.